Hi everyone, this is Dan, and this is the Chris Claremont anniversary special, I guess, number one. By the way, this is the variant edition cover. When I was in the shop, I just kind of looked over both covers, the primary and the variant, and I was like, yeah, this looks like a lot better, and honestly does a better job of kind of illustrating the story too, for a cover anyway. But anyway, this is obviously written by Chris Claremont. For those who are wondering, the art pencils are by Bill Sienkiewicz, Sean Chen, Diego Olortegui, and Brett Booth. Inks are by Mark Deering. Whoa, oh man, I can't see. This lettering sucks. Roberto Poggi, Adelso Corona. Colors by Chris Sotomayor, Rochelle Rosenberg, Eric R. Cienega, Guru X Effects, whatever that means. And letters by Tom Orzechowski. And then this particular variant cover is by Todd Nauk and Rochelle Rosenberg. Okay, so let's get into this. What is this? So this is essentially a 33-page special sold for $4.99, kind of celebrating and hitting the bunch of different points in Chris Claremont's career at Marvel Comics. So what are we going to do? Let's just jump into it. It opens up, and what do? We have a great splash page. We have classic caption boxes by Chris Claremont. You got Hela talking to Danny Moonstar, telling, hey, it's time for you to come join me and be a Valkyrie, a messenger of death. These look like Bill Sienkiewicz. I will say this, and I kind of saw this with New Mutants War Children, which is another sort of modern Chris Claremont, Bill Sienkiewicz creation. Bill Sienkiewicz, when inked by some of these more modern people, is a little off at times. I kind of like him when he's being inked by more of the old school inkers, but that's just me. That being said, you get a lot of flashbacks to different. For those who remember my last review, this is the image of death for the Cheyenne. This is Dark Phoenix. This is Hela, and essentially it's Hela confronting Danny Moonstar while she's working on Brightwind and telling her, "Hey, there's some consequences to pay for you bonding with Brightwind, and you need to face those consequences." And she was like, why do I have to do that? And the image of death, calls her out and says, "You are a warrior, and now is the time of testing. And either give up Brightwind or become a Valkyrie." And Danny decides, since she's actually a strong character, well, F you, you're going to have to take Brightwind from me. So Hela was like, okay, let's do this. And so what occurs is essentially a cross-dimension, cross-timeline story of Danny Moonstar fighting the Shadow King, which I will say this, the weakest part of this little special is this section here with the Fantastic Four. So I have read a little bit of Chris Claremont's Fantastic Four run. I think that was, for those of you who don't know, it's Fantastic Four Volume 3. Originally it was supposed to be a Lobdell run, and then for whatever reason Lobdell got kicked off the book and Claremont took over. I will say this, the early parts of it are kind of rough, and then when he gets into his arc with Doom and Reed, it gets really interesting. So not a bad run, but not exactly a high point in Claremont's career. So it's kind of interesting that he jumps to this. Here's the multiple versions of Sue that he had in that Fantastic Four run. So essentially, we're kind of jumping through Chris Claremont's career as Danny Moonstar is kind of the sort of explorer going through all these different arcs and exploring all these different characters. I kind of like this, by the way. Like, he writes, so obviously this is modern editorial. So let's go over here. We have to remind folks that the editor here is Annalise Bisa and Jordan D. White. So Claremont's not going to be able to go old school, unfortunately. So yeah, of course, who's what is it? Aqua version of Sue defeats Doom. Freaking Doom Knight version of Sue defeats Reed Richards by tickling the crap at him. Which, by the way, I actually like this. I kind of got a little bit of a laugh of this. This is like your typical silly Chris Claremont that he's very well known for. And what's really cool here is that he actually doesn't let all the strong female characters win here. So Young Sue gets actually overpowered by Namor. In this case, all these people, by the way, are being possessed by the Shadow King. And she needs to be saved by Danny Moonstar, which kind of makes sense because this is Danny Moonstar versus the Shadow King. And we jump off to other fights. Now, this is where it gets a lot more interesting. The Fantastic Four part's okay, but Chris Claremont's Fantastic Four is not really that popular. This, Chris Claremont's very popular for. So we kind of have a out of continuity fight between Binary and Rogue. And this is really... So here's the deal. Claremont kind of fucking trolls me right here, but check this out. So, about to get wrecked, by Shadow King Rogue, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh no, Carl Manvers, no! What are you doing, Claremont? And then boop, goes right back to Binary, and you're like, oh, thank God. It's pretty great, and I kind of like it because it's like, I feel like editorial probably told Chris, it's like, you gotta have Captain Marvel in this, you gotta have Captain Marvel, and then he probably went like, okay, here's 2 panels now, leave me alone. Let me get back to the character that I wrote. And he goes to Binary, and it's a pretty good fight. So you have essentially possessed Rogue versus Binary. Binary kind of overpowers her just in time for Danny to kind of kick the Shadow King out of her body. And again, yeah, this is very Claremont. We're flying all over the goddamn place here. And I do want to note this. So there's 2 styles of American comic book art. There's the... or currently right now, there's the hyper detailed sort of stuff like these pages right here. I feel like this is Brett Booth, but correct me if I'm wrong. And then you've got more of the quick style, and I wanted to show this off because this right here is like, if there was ever like a modern interpretation of Danny Moonstar that I would totally jump on, I like this. I don't know who this is. I think this may be either Sean Chen or Diego or Lortegu, but this right here, it's great. Obviously, Sienkiewicz and Booth's art kind of pop out a lot. By the way, this does the freaking annoying Marvel thing where they change multiple artists through the book, and this isn't as bad as that awful Giant Size X-Men where the change in artist was just talk about uncanny. It was, oh god, that thing was a freaking, it was an abortion. But anyway, this is not, though. This is actually, it's got a pretty smooth going between the different art styles right here. And I like it for the most part. We jump over, and you get a little bit of Starjammers and Binary action. And it's kind of funny to read Carol Danvers in the way Claremont wrote her. There is little bits of you can feel the Miss Marvel and Brood Saga era Carol, and not modern Carol, which less said about that the better, right? And we jump over. This is some great art right here. So this section right here is fantastic. So this is jumping over to so this is the arc of Uncanny X-Men where Gambit first shows up with the de-aged Storm. Yeah, a little bit of an explanation right there, but essentially around where Gambit first shows up in Uncanny X-Men, and this is great. So the Shadow King possesses a Gambit, and does strong female character win? Not really. She gets her shit wrecked, and it's actually really great, and it's kind of like a throwback to Chris's style of writing women, right? One of the things that made the female characters that Chris Claremont wrote, such as Storm, such as Danny Moonstar, is that they didn't always win, unlike modern characters. In fact, a lot of times Danny and Aurora would kind of get their ass kicked, and this is a great show right here. So young, de-aged Aurora kind of meets up with Danny Moonstar. Whoa, she's naked. Huh, interesting. And she kind of, she tries to cheer her up, but Danny's still kind of broken. And meanwhile, possessed Gambit is kind of attacking people in a bar over there. And Aurora basically says, you stay here, let Brightwind protect you, I'm going to go stop him. And it's kind of like, forcing her to realize her own cowardice by action. And off pops the real Danny Moonstar. Pops. By the way, I wanted to note this. This is some great dialogue I want to show here. So she pops into this realm right here. I know I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but this issue's kind of jumping all over the place. And she goes over, she's like, oh, I'm in New Orleans. And then she looks down and there's Gambit. It's like, I don't know who that cute guy is, but the way he's firing up those cards he's holding, he's got to be a mutant. Huh, cute guy, huh? Oh, looks like Danny Moonstar's not a lesbian. Suck it! Sorry, I had to point that out. But anyway, so she goes over and she confronts Gambit in the bar, and she uses her powers to kind of show the Shadow King's worst fear. In this case, a young Xavier who kicked his ass. And he, of course, kind of sees through it and it's like, oh, your phantoms can't beat me. But, that wasn't the case. Aurora gets behind him, freaking shocks the crap out of him, and Danny Moonstar freaking arrows him in the knee, and the ladies win, right? It's pretty good stuff. And then finally she confronts Hela at the end. And this is kind of great right here, in that it's almost like a continuation of the New Mutants War Children, where Hela was kind of arguing with Danny on a few of the panels right here. And this is great Claremont, writing, and it kind of shows where he's gone now. You'll notice that there's a few thought bubbles here and there, but you can tell that Claremont's kind of like grown into a more modern style, so things are a lot more dialogue driven right here. And the other thing is he breaks up his wordiness by like having the letter break up the bubbles and stuff, but it's still Chris Claremont. And they kind of go back and forth, and she's like, I'm a member of the New Mutants, I already do that. And then she kind of goes over and it's like, and Hela confronts her and it's like, thy courage, thy strength does thee proud, but in what century of thy human years thou wilt pass into my realm? Thou wilt become dust and in time forgotten, and the Shadow King will go on. And Hela's basically telling her, like, your job, beyond your life is to stop, people like the Shadow King and stuff like that, and face them and become a champion of life. And it's a great sort of salute to this character that Chris Claremont helped create. And, essentially, Danny Moonstar was kind of the Storm of the New Mutants, though she kind of always had her own personality that was a little different. But in this case, this is her, right? And it's a great all-encompassing story and character piece on Danny Moonstar, similar to New Mutants 41 that I covered right here, just more in a modern context. It would be nice if the artist would have stayed the same through it, but, this is modern Marvel Comics, so they can't afford any of these people to do the whole book, unfortunately. But, it's a great, all-in-one salute to Chris Claremont's career. Perfect issue? No, not at all, but, definitely worth picking up on the stands and or your local comic book shop, or picking it up digital if that's the only way you can. I certainly enjoyed this. So anyhow, that's enough me babbling here. I'm getting as wordy as Chris Claremont. You probably asked, was there any art for this? A little bit. So I sketched this really fast. And so this is obviously a rough, but it's kind of like, I was looking back at like an old art piece that I did a while back with Danny Moonstar on Brightwind. And I was like, I wonder where I'm at right now with penciling. And overall, still got to work on the eyes and the face a little bit. But I was kind of surprised at how much I remembered how to draw a horse. Yeah, I think like the key to the horse is the long head is kind of what I always think about. And then always remember that there's like a lot of muscles in that animal for the most part. But kind of a quick pencils right here. And honestly, a quick review. This was kind of a rushed week, but I managed to find some time to pick this up at the shop. But this should be at your local comic book shop, or you can download it online through Comixology. But Chris Claremont and his anniversary special. If you're a fan of Chris Claremont, and especially a fan of Danny Moonstar, definitely pick it up. That's the review. Let me know what you think. If you like this review, please hit the thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Hit the bell for notifications. You got any comments about Chris Claremont anniversary special or my art? Leave it down below, and I will see you next time.